All right, we can now finally begin the stream of the century. First thing I should mention is that this week I felt like I was in a furnace. There was a heat wave that was almost unparalleled in terms of the just volume of awfulness. I mean, sometimes I would just lay down or sit somewhere and feel completely paralyzed. Like I could barely even move without just sweating. And even when I was outside and it was like earlier in the day, probably around like a cooler temperature, I'd come back maybe like 2, 3, 4 hours later, especially like in the early afternoon. And the car is so goddamn hot that when I put my hand on the steering wheel, I have to like just take it off almost as quickly as I put it there because it's burning. Like it's sizzling. It's like it's been put in the grill. You'd almost think it had taken a tenure at Sizzler as a assistant chef from how hot it was. It was really awful. And I even said if this heat wave persists, I don't feel like going much of anywhere. And that's why I always try to explain to this one person that doesn't run errands that a lot of times I'll like to go outside probably in the earlier part of the day, maybe around 7, 8, 9 o'clock, like around this type of time, right? And that's because a lot of times I'd like to just get everything I want to do out of the way. You run your little 2, 3, 4 errands, you go home or to whatever place you call home, and that's it. Everything you've had to do for the day is solved, and for the rest of the day, as it gets hotter and hotter, you can just stay inside and not have to worry about the insanity of the temperature being as bad as it is. Now, I'm really surprised to see you again, Akatsuki Merchant, because as far as I can remember, didn't you win some sweepstakes where it was like $100 million in the mail order bride, and you were too busy trying to satisfy her to show up to any of my streams anymore? Now, of course, I didn't hold it against you because I know sometimes duty calls and there are these unexpected things that happen in life, but I'm just very surprised to see you again after such a surprise in your fortune occurred. There goes those fire trucks. That thing is so loud. I saw one earlier today, not earlier today, about 20 minutes ago when I was coming here, and it was really far behind me, like to where it was just barely registering in the back of my when you look out the window in front of you to see the back. I and maybe that's the same one, but I don't think so. They might have gone and picked somebody up and just are cycling back to wherever their headquarters is. Also, I did consider not streaming today only because I know that people like Megumi and Gem and many of the other recurring characters are going to be too busy watching Barbie several times over. So if they don't show up, we already know where they are. And I don't blame them for wanting to go see a movie. I'm just kind of a little sad that we won't be able to see them during the stream of the century. Maybe if it was the stream of the year, stream of the week, stream of the month, but it's really disappointing that they couldn't show up for the stream of the century. So I'm very disappointed that I'm not disappointed they went to go see Barbie. That film's becoming a cult classic and it's in its 2 day run. But I do wish they would have you know decided not to see it for the 15th time and instead come to the stream of the century. So I hope you understand what I'm saying. People are allowed to watch what they want, but I can feel a certain way from watching what they want. Yeah, Barbenheimer was a real fun Twitter event, and it was nice to see a historical movie get some attention because people really don't like history or learning about things, no matter how good the story is or how well told the story is. And I would have been more tempted to go see it, but it again the tickets for movies over here where it's like $15 to go see one movie, um, added to the fact that the film is like 3 hours long. I don't have the both of them are kind of like whatever to me. It is really funny watching all the usual suspects talk trash about Barbie and it's woke and it's promoting this feminist agenda and all the other little, nonsense they spew around. It's like, guys, if somebody makes a movie about a female toy that's been around for 40, 50, 60 years, you can probably reasonably infer it's going to be slanted in favor of women or female empowerment. It's not really that hard of a thing to figure out. It's just like it's just so weird seeing a bunch of men talk about how much they didn't like a movie about a girl toy. I don't know, just it's weird to me, but whatever. I'm just imagining there's like an alternate universe where like let's say the GI Joe films have been successful and you've got like women making reviews of how they promote toxic masculinity or something like that, like just the inversion of here's this thing that's clearly not meant for someone, but since you want to squeeze a quick buck out of something popular or the outrage associated with something popular, you pretend that it is. Everything and nothing is woke all at once. But what I'm getting at is if you have a movie where it's based off a toy for girls, what do you expect the message of the movie is probably going to be? Who do you expect it to mainly be geared towards? I mean, I hate to say common sense, but I don't know what person would look at that and go, oh, yeah, this is totally going to be a thing that is also geared towards males. The movie about a toy for girls should have some kind of thing for men as well. I mean, you have to understand that, like, whenever you make something, there's generally going to be a set audience for it that probably is going to slant more in favor of one gender or another. So, for example, any cartoon I make, whether it be the one I did or even possibly something else at some point, will almost and it's especially if it's like an action type show where you got your little thing of comedy and some jokes and like a serious ongoing story. As much as I'd like to say that's for everybody and anyone who likes it can enjoy it because that's my genuine belief, I understand that it is most likely going to mainly be watched by males. Males tend to favor those type of genres and shows and that particular type of story. So when you see a movie about a toy doll meant for girls, it's not hard to figure that it's probably going to be slanted in favor of trying to appeal to girls. Even though I do have to admit there were people who made reviews and they weren't doing the stuff that these other people are doing, but they were just kind of like talking honestly about how it's not a movie that's meant for kids. I absolutely agree with that. They have multiple some like what's a good way of putting it? Jokes that are of an adult nature. If and they're kind of some of them are kind of subtle, but one of them is like outright very open about, hey, we know you're trying to have you go to the point. It's one of those things where I have to admit they weren't lying. Just based off some of the stuff people have been posting on here and talking about, it seems like they weren't far off. But again, those reviewers are different from a lot of these other channels because they don't have a vested interest in seeing something fail. They go out and just review stuff in general, so they're a more accredited source, if you will. Like, is it woke to encourage little girls to follow their passions? I don't know what they wanted. Like, they're complaining about Ken being subservient to Barbie, but that's how it is in the toy line, where the main attraction is Barbie, and Ken is kind of just there. Or I guess I should say he is the Robin to Barbie's Batman. He's like the extension figure, but you would never just see him by himself. And I don't feel bad talking about a movie meant for girls because, like I said, look at all these grown men spending how many hours talking about it. I watched a stream yesterday; it was like 2 hours long. They talked trash about it for a whole hour plus. And I told you that the saddest part about YouTube commentary is that back when YouTube first started, no, no, when I say subservient, I'm talking about well, in the story itself, he actually is subservient because they have a section where the Kens basically follow what the Barbies want. They kind of just go along with whatever they do. But I also mean that in general, he's the less popular toy that's made to be complementary towards her. So that's why I made the Batman and Robin comparison where yeah, people like Robin, but he's mainly known as Batman's sidekick. So I hope you understand what I'm getting at. I'm not trying to say caring about your partner is subservient. I'd never say that. I'm just conveying that there's clearly a role for him that the film is like very mindful of or knows, and people are trying to act like it's this big shock. Like, I can't believe they have Ken as number two, even though that's what he's always been. But I was saying it used to be on YouTube that when a movie was bad or not good, the way it would work is a person would make a review and they would talk about what they liked, what they didn't like, why they don't think it works altogether, and then they would say, "Hey, I don't think people should go see this." Because we live in an era where people are paid to despise things, this means we are very likely forever going to come across these extremely disingenuous critics who are going to look for any new movie that comes out, and if it has a theme or maybe some kind of thing that they don't necessarily agree with, but again, it's not meant for them or it's not something they would have watched anyway, they're going to wag their finger and talk about the industry's wokeisms and woke, all the rest of that stupid stuff, and not actually do what's supposed to happen when a movie is bad. You're supposed to give you a review, tell people you don't think they should see it, and basically just move on. But instead, because we live in this grifter era, you'll see people make several videos at a minimum about some movie that they say is horrible, terrible, etc., etc. And none of the videos are really doing anything other than just inflating their own pockets. Because like I said, they have a vested interest in seeing this stuff fail. Oh yeah, that makes sense. Ken has always been a Barbie accessory. Exactly. And the movie acknowledges that. And so when he goes out in the real world, it's kind of like, well, I like being, you know, the front guy or masculine or whatever. It's supposed to like set up this conflict between him and Barbie, and they're like saying that the film is trying to show the toxicities of males. I just think it's not something that should be taken that seriously. Like you're trying to get me to become seriously invested in the lessons of a film about toys coming to life or going to the real world. It's just one of those things where I just think people are taking it a little too far as far as but like I said, the people who are doing that are the ones who have a vested interest in seeing this stuff fail because they're trying to make money for themselves off of their little crappy accounts on here. Now, Akatsuki merch, let me tell you what I want you to do. I want you to make a new account and it's going to be called, let's see your banana merch. We're gonna call you Apple Salesman. And on your Apple Salesman account, you're gonna make a video and it's gonna be called Barbie Woke Explosion. And you're gonna talk for about 10 to 20 minutes about how the film is promoting this agenda and oh my god, how could they do this to you? And you used to when you were a kid, you grew up with Barbie and you feel so betrayed by how this doll has now been used for a film that you can't stand, blah 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 blah, right? And after you make your first video, Barbie woke explosion, you're gonna make a second video, Barbie betrayer of worlds, and you're gonna talk about how you and your sister grew up, and you can't believe that they did this to her, and what is this? And after you do that, you're gonna make another video, Barbie woke flop, and you're gonna talk about how the film's gonna do really good in the first week, but then after that, it's gonna have these historic drop offs, and then after that, you're gonna make another video with some other Barbie news. Um, you get the idea that this is what they do. They just keep making videos about the same movie that they say isn't good, the same movie that they say is so bad. Just keep spinning the wheel. Whatever it takes to get those coins. I'm telling you, man, I just think it's like part of me almost wants to go see that just to piss them off, because I'm just tired of like every new movie that comes out that has it could either have a female lead character, it could be a female based story. This same 6, 7, 8 channels on this stupid site sit around talking about, oh, this is woke and they're trying to promote this agenda, and it's like, shut up. So I hope the movie does very well. I hope people it's already got, was 100 million or something for the box office. I didn't look at the preview showings. I know that Discussing Film was talking about it, but I hope it's more and more people go out to see it, because I'm just tired of every time there's a new movie that has a female lead or some other like prominent woman in it. They always try to do the same stupid, worn out cycle of, this is woke and it has this agenda and it's trying to put men in this. I'm just tired, because it's like, what do you expect from a movie about a female toy? Like, you really thought you were gonna get male empowerment in that? Are you serious? None of these people gave a damn about Barbie, but now that whining about it being woke is the new grift, suddenly these weirdos are the biggest Barbie fans. Yeah. And remember, it's even weirder when you consider that, like, for example, they'll talk about Star Wars, Marvel, right? The two Disney properties that they can squeeze the most money out of talking trash about. And at least with those, I can say, you know what? Those are brands that have been traditionally dominated by male creators and male characters. And I can, at the very least, understand. I mean, look, you're not going to try to convince me the sequel trilogy was good, but I can at least understand where someone can look at the shift in female focus or whatever and say, okay, well, this is not what I grew up with, or this is different. But we're talking about a movie about a doll for girls being feminist or mainly about promoting women, and it's like, what did you expect? No, none of those people gave a damn about Barbie, absolutely not. But now that there's a movie about it and they can extrapolate some coins from outrage, because that's one of my favorite things about online. Every time there's a new movie, you have this comment section full of people who say, I don't care about, I'm not going to see it. But guess what they're doing? Watching every single damn video that bashes it over and over again, nonstop, showing up to all the streams. I'm like, guys, you really don't care about the movie, just don't watch anything about it. That's why I said that, like, it's interesting to me how at this point, if you want to be successful on this site, all you have to do, if you, at least in when it comes to film stuff, right, is just make an account, say you're against woke stuff, and watch as new movies come out. Most of them are blockbusters or things that people have been excited for a few months, right? And talk about how this female character ruins the story. This female character is overpowered. This female character is bad acted. I mean, all you have to do is just wait for any new movie that comes out and talk trash about either the women that are in it or the woman that made it, like the director or the writer, whatever. I'm serious. They've been doing this for every single movie, at least blockbuster movie, because there's some films that fly under the radar, right? but it's like every single blockbuster, they can find a way to spin to like play the same old song and dance. Every single one. Like if we go back to 2015, like when Force Awakens came out, right? And they were saying that Rey was a Mary Sue, which I agree with. Because we already talked about this before, but like, how does she know how to use all these powers? How does she overpower a guy that's been training for years with regard to Kylo Ren? But it's like they've taken that same belief system and now they just apply it to every single film that comes out. Earlier this year, they were talking about Indiana Jones 5. Some of these people don't have a single damn Indiana Jones video on their channel, but when that movie came out, guess what they were saying? Oh, his female sidekick, she ruins the film and she gets all this attention and she does the, and I'm just like, okay, all right, whatever. Thor 4, oh, Natalie Portman, and she takes over with the same title, and just every single time a new blockbuster film comes out, expect them to sing the same old song and dance. I'm serious. If we wanted to, we could go all the way back to 8 years ago, and that's how long this has been going on. Just every year is the same stupid thing over and over again. This is woke. I tell you, the Barbie stuff really has been like the ultimate um whiplash of insanity, because it's like most of that stuff again originated within the superhero genre, just stuff that's kind of like male dominated, but they're like shocked that the Barbie movie is more slanted towards women than men. Like, wow, what a great revelation. It could be a masterpiece of a film and they'd still screech about wokeness. Yeah, because personally, when I was looking at the trailers, I said this actually looks very, because you know how like a lot of movies people will say, especially if they're made by these big studios, they don't really have a voice, a certain um element of them where you can say, okay, well, this is something distinct about this person, or they all look the same, like, oh, hey, here's this person behind a gray filter and they're out in the parking lot. um from what I saw of the trailers, Barbie looks pretty good. I mean, the places look bright and colorful, and there's clearly a difference between how the toy area, or I guess Barbie Land, looks versus how the regular world looks. So I'm actually fairly tempted to go out and see it. If for nothing else, just to go and yeah, it's clearly a Barbie themed setting. And that's my thing, that like there are things about the film that if I were to talk about it would be, just like the uniqueness of how it looks. Um, but none of these people are, because I was trying to explain a movie is more than just its writing. A movie is the quality of its acting, it's the quality of its cinematography, the music, the lighting. I mean, there's a lot of factors that go into this stuff, right? It's not a movie is, if writing were the only thing that was important about a film, then people would be buying books left and right, because that's all. When you buy a book, the only thing that matters is the writing. It's literally just several hundred, usually, pages of just text. So when I see these people who can't even say, well, at least the movie looks nice, right? It goes back to that same thing of, these aren't really film critics, even though they have whole channels where they talk trash about films that come out recently. These aren't really film critics. They're people that are trying to make some money off of outrage. So every new movie that comes out, they have a vested interest in nitpicking and finding problems with, to continue pushing the narrative of Hollywood is trying to replace men and all the rest of that stuff. It's a complete lack of media literacy. They're the same people who missed the point of Fight Club. I'm telling you, that it's just really interesting watching like this same group be promoted as knowing what they're talking about. Like, wow, we need to listen to them. And when they do those streams and they have like 8 or 9 donations come in the first minute, I'm like, yeah, this. To keep telling yourself this is a genuine belief of this person, not some obvious financial motive attached to it. I even said, my thing is, I keep making this clear. I don't have a problem with people making money on this site. I really don't. I will never have a problem with people just putting up videos. Enough people watch it, they get paid. Because I've even been paid on here a few times. Not that often, but still. What I do have a problem with is the very clear financial incentive that they have to basically trash something for the purpose of getting more attention for themselves. Like Ben Shapiro, the conservative commentator, right? The one that the guy who I think you might remember me talking about this Akatsuki merchant. This is the same guy who said that he's in favor, like he'll say he's in favor of freedom, but he also is in favor of municipalities and other local governments being able to ban men from wearing skirts and dresses as part of some supposed indecent exposure clause, even though indecent exposure is actually when a person is nude or very much skimpily clad, which is counterintuitive to like actually putting on outfits that cover you up. But I digress. So this is a guy who's like very much like against like the ants, the woke stuff or whatever. But then he goes to watch the movie. This middle aged man who, as far as I can tell, was never into Barbie, goes to see it, and it's not because as a political commentator he's so interested in its explorations of deep things. Because really, it would make more sense for him to go see Oppenheimer. Um, it's another chance for someone, even someone as big as him already, but like this, another chance for someone even as big as that to try and find a way to squeeze some pennies out of the flavor of the month outrage film that everyone is complaining about. Real film critics at least have some media literacy, although to varying degrees depending on who the critic is. Yeah, what I'm getting at is if you go back and look at movie critics from 20, 30, 40 years ago, before YouTube, before the all the green dollar signs and super chats and the rest of that ilk, right? If you go back and you read reviews from film critics from the start of the century to even earlier than that, going back 70s, 60s, 50s, 40s, the people who criticized things back then, for the most part, did it because they genuinely believe that. Like, yeah, they get paid to go and watch movies and give their opinion on it, and they're getting paid one way or the other. Their employer is going to pay them to go and watch a film, say whether it was good or bad, and put their view out there. With the current way that outrage culture is, anytime a new movie comes out, these people, even if they were to like, let's say they like it, right? Oh man, I'm not going to get as many views if my review is negative, or views rather. So let me bash it and say it's terrible. Thank you, Jem. I really appreciate it. Look, Jem, I know you've been very disappointed with me for streaming in the morning. I do it because over here it's been getting warmer and warmer. Um, but also, I didn't even know if you were going to show up today because I know you've been at the theater for about 10 times in the last 2 days watching Barbie. So I'm very appreciative of the fact that you were able to get out of there and come and check out the stream. It's really a nice thing. Oh, Megumi, there's the one I wanted to see. Let me give you an update on. Let me tell you something real interesting. So, if you remember back in April, I went through a nightmare of I'm thinking of seeing it, Megumi. I might go to see it tomorrow or during the course of this week because I want to piss off the people that are talking about woke needs to flop, woke needs to flop, woke needs to flop. Just I'm glad that I want to see the movie just keep soaring and soaring in revenue. So if you remember back in April, I went through hell on earth applying for jobs and just hearing nothing back. Jumping from employer to employer, of all these interviews, and just stuff went nowhere, right? At the end of the month, I was basically given this as like an alternative, like you better pay half a thousand or get out of here. Now, you might not remember this specific employer, but there was a company where, and I'll never forget because I thought this was nuts. They sat me down for two interviews. One was on the phone, and the other one was on Zoom. And the second one, the one on Zoom, was with two people from that company. And after doing that interview, they said they wanted to move forward with me. They wanted to have three references from people, and I gave them their references. So they sent me a bunch of documents to fill out. And I'm thinking, yes, I got a new job at last. Nightmare is over. I start filling out all the documents. I finished filling it out. I sent it over to the people. And I'm thinking, okay, now I'm going to hear from them about when I can get started. 2-3 days pass, hear nothing. I'm like, okay, that's kind of weird. I usually the way it works is you fill out the stuff that they want you to fill out, then they give you some kind of updates on when you can expect to start. So I said, okay, maybe they're just busy. So I call the place. Lady doesn't answer the phone. I leave a voicemail. I say, hey, can you guys let me know what's going on? And I get what's basically a Dear John letter the next day, where one of the ladies is like, oh, thank you for applying, and we appreciate you speaking to us, but we have decided not to move forward with your application. And when I read that message, I wanted to spit on the screen, because I've never seen in the history of all the times I've applied to places a place where you go and sit through two interviews, a fairly lengthy second one, by the way, and fill out documents to start working for somewhere, just for them to be like, nah. So I was pissed. I even said before that it took everything I had not to send them some kind of like angry message, because they really just wasted my time to a degree that was even more insane than what usually happens. Like, I'm totally used to, you get one interview, you hear nothing back. You get one interview, they say no, thank you. I've never seen before two interviews, fill out some documents to start working for them, and then, oh well, we decided you're not good enough to work for us. Sorry, sir. So months pass. I let it go. I keep looking for stuff because that's just the nature of this nonsense. And I get an email yesterday at it's like 1 o'clock or something. Day before yesterday, I should say, Thursday. And I see the name on there, and I'm like, why does this name seem so familiar? Because it's some kind of like place for, it's like a similar type company, right? And then I go in my email because they also have a number. I go in my email, I type the number in to see if I've ever seen this number before. It just seems familiar. And that's when the hair on the back of my head stands up, because then I realize the same bimbo that sent me an email Thursday is the same about, like, hey, we think you'd be a good fit and when can you do an interview, is the same stupid, brain rotting, shoe shining bastard that sent me that Dear John letter in April talking about thanks for applying, but we're not going to move forward your application. So this goes back to what I said earlier about how these people are like revolving doors. They go and they have a period where they're hiring people, and they basically treat anyone they're not hiring like parasites, right? Just get out of our face. But then after a couple of months, the people that they hired either quit or they fire them or whatever, revolving door. So then they go right back on those same sites looking for people to sign up or join or apply again. It was the same stupid lady, the same exact one. And you better believe I didn't say anything back when I realized who it was. And of course, she didn't realize who I was, because they go through people like just all the time. But when I realized it was the same one from April, it's like, no, 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 no. I remember your scheme. We're not playing that again. I definitely understand what you mean. I've been through the similar scenario myself. Holy cow. I'm telling you, when I saw that name, I was like, why does that seem so familiar? But when I typed the number in and that email came up from April, it's like, you guys think I'm really about to sit here and go through a third interview with you to get this job I should have had back in April? All I can say to that is so I didn't even respond. There actually have been two instances where I braved through the storm and tried to apply to the same place a second time. The first time was this dog place back in June or July that I applied for, and they were like, thanks, but no thanks. We already found somebody. Goodbye. And then like 2-3 months later, they were saying, hey, can you come in for like a test run, and I got mauled by all these dogs. And the next day they're like, "Hey, thanks for showing up, but we decided to go with somebody else." So that's what these companies do. They will have people that they either interview or bring in or whatever, and then after a few months of just completely acting like you don't exist, they choose not to go with you. They're right back looking for somebody again. It's like you can't take them seriously anymore. They are playing with people. Absolutely. I told the story of how there was a I'm not even afraid to say what company it was. Well, not company, but just like what they do. There was some kind of casino place that I applied for back in January, and they had me pay for 2 hour parking and spoke to me for like 10 minutes, and I just thought it was so crazy that you would have to drive that far and pay for that much hours of parking if they're going to talk to you for such a brief period. But then I realized this is a scheme that they have. They're partnered with this parking place. So what they do is they lure unsuspecting people to come in for a stupid interview with them that's not going to go anywhere. And they get to enrich themselves by you paying for parking and them getting a cut out of the profits from the parking. So every time they have some like 5, 6, 7, 8 people show up for these interviews, that's like what, $10 for each person. So they're getting about probably 2, 3, 4, $5 off each person that shows up there. As far as their percentage of the cut, they're absolutely playing with people. But I said they're not going to play with me again. Also, we have to talk about the greatest Caucasian woman that ever lived in a second. We'll get into her in a moment. Basically, free money for them regardless they decide to keep the person or not. Exactly. That's why I said it's a grift. They know they're not going to hire 99% of the people that show up. So to like get some compensation or some money for themselves, they tell you to go and park in this stupid parking space where you have to pay for 2 hour parking just to talk to them for 10 minutes. And then they get a little cut of whatever the place makes that they're affiliated with for the parking scheme. People think they're really slick. It's so sad because you're doing all this stuff just to try and get a job, and these jobs are looking for ways to screw you over. Even if you don't work for them, they still find a way to like make some money off of you. It's sad. Um, but there's a woman on Twitter, and she is, what's a good way of putting it? So Megumi, you probably remember this. I said before, I don't think it's bad to not want to date someone of the same race, of a different race. Like I don't have a problem with people that don't want to do that, even though I don't have a problem with different ethnicities, whatever. Because I think we all have our own preferences, and I'm not going to tell somebody, that their preferences are wrong or whatever. It is what it is. Um, so there's this woman, and the first time I ever saw her, I noticed that like almost all of that, like her account was protected, so she has tweets that you can't see unless you're following her. And I followed her, and she had all this racial jargon about wanting to make the US white again, all this stuff. But we had a decent little dialogue, whatever. Just when you get past a lot of the extremist stuff, because I figured most of the stuff she was typing was just for show, like kind of like, you come online, you just say some like weird stuff. You probably don't mean it, it's just to get attention for yourself. So anyway, while I was speaking to her, there were two exchanges that were really interesting because they really paint an image of there being like something wrong with people. Um, the first one, because she's again, like like I said before, it's okay in my opinion to be against dating someone that's of another race, right? Like you just don't want to do it. You're free to do whatever you want with regard to your own dating life. But she said that she had a problem with interracial couples as well. And I said, well, because her whole thesis is that people should stay with their own kind or whatever. And I said, okay, what is the true evil thing that comes out of these couples that are interracial, right? And the response by her was, oh, they have these kids that are mixed. I was like, okay, so let me ask you this then, because like I said, I don't wait, what? But why? who is she decide something like that? We're going to get into it. I say, okay, but here's what I'm getting at. Let's say it doesn't have to be me. It could be you. It could be anybody else. But like, let's take Jem for a second. Let's say Jem is African American. Let's just pretend he is. I don't know what he is, but like, let's just say he is. And every year he goes out, he talks to women. You know, they're not really interested in him, whatever, for whatever reason, because we already know chicks are very finicky. We've been over this before. But let's say he meets a woman that he likes spending time with, that he has fun with. You know, they go on a date, they're holding hands. You know, maybe they're like making out, whatever. But they're genuinely enjoying each other's company. They're hitting it off, right? And I said to her in my hypothetical, would it really bother you if if two other people date and they just have a good time together, there's no intercourse, so there's no chance of having any of these supposedly evil interracial children, but would it really bother you if two people who are of different races just happen to have a good time together as a couple or on a date? And her response was yes, sorry. So even as she's confirming that yes, she believes people of different races just shouldn't date each other at all, she's also apologizing for it because at some piece of her brain is picking up on how insane it is that you're like that against people just enjoying each other's company. Um, but it's not enough for you to say, yeah, maybe I should just limit this to myself. Like if she wants to never date someone of another race, nobody cares. We're fine with that, you know, whatever. But she does want her view imposed on others, which is the actual issue I drew with the, you know, and I said, like, who are you to determine this? The other part that was interesting is that we were having this yeah, that is the problem, because like I said, it's for a lot of people it's not just let me be what I am, it's also let me try to make you what I am. It's like a manifest destiny thing where they're trying to impose their views on everyone in their vicinity. So we've also talked about, and I know you remember this, Megumi, how men have in general way less clothing options than women, how women can wear anything that a man wears. Nobody has a problem with it. Nobody thinks it's weird. Nobody thinks it's crazy. Nobody, no, just they as a group have a lot more um, freedom when it comes to what they wear than men do. We've discussed that before. Now, in the course of having a conversation with her, I joked about wanting to wear lipstick. Just I made like a comment about, oh, I can't ever wear this because I have people around me that would, you know, and it's hard to take off, whatever. Um, And I had this other like joke about, oh yeah, if you saw a picture of me wearing this, you would probably share it around with people. And again, it's a joke because I'm not sending my pictures to anyone just randomly. And she's like, I don't send me any of that stuff. You know, just because I said I'm okay with it doesn't mean I want to see it. And I'm like, okay, if you're okay with something, why would it bother you to see it? So then as we spoke further, I said, you can't, and this is the point I'm trying to make. If a woman wanted to send me a picture of herself, whether she was wearing a bikini, a suit, um, just regular stuff, whatever, and I said, just because I'm okay with you wearing this stuff doesn't mean I want to see it. People would say, like, hey, why are you trying to tell that person what they can and can't wear? And because she later on says, as long as you dress like a man, I'm fine seeing pictures of you. And this is a bimbo that, by the way, says that she's not attracted to men of other races, doesn't want to date them. So it's like, why why in the hell exactly should I care if you have a problem with what I wear? Like you're not a love interest of mine. You're not someone I'm trying to appeal to in any romantic way because you're literally admitting that there's no way I could. But I eventually like make the point to her of, hey, you know, it's really insane to me that you think it's okay as someone who apparently believes in equality to have one gender be able to wear whatever they want and the other one has to like fit into this rigid box. And would you like to know what her explanation was for this hypocrisy? Oh, I used to be okay with it until transgenders ruined everything. They kept, you know, I got sick of them and now I don't really want to see and I said, okay, whoa, 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 whoa. A man wanting to wear female clothes has nothing to do with transgenders. Because remember, transgenders are a gender identity. That's someone who says that they identify as something that they were not born as. Okay, if a guy, and I said this to her, I said if I like, let's say for example, I wore, I don't know, a dress, right? You would still be able to tell by my beard and by my deep voice that I'm male. Like I said to her, this is not about uh you know, saying that I'm female or identifying as something else. It's literally just having more options of what clothes to wear. And I made the point to her again that if a woman came to my house and wore something out of my closet, nobody would say she's trying to be a man because she's wearing clothes that are made for men or associated with men. So eventually she relents and starts speaking like a regular. It's just kind of funny how like in both times where she tried to take an assertive stand against something, she started like slipping. This clown, why is she bringing up that group? Because these people really have this like backwards mentality where I'm telling you, this is what they believe. Women should be allowed to be anything they want. They should be able to wear what they want, speak what they want, do what they want, whatever. But if you're a guy, you have to fit into this tight, narrowly defined box of personality traits and characteristics and manner of dress. And like I said, I don't even care if she doesn't like what I wear or had a problem saying anything about it, because remember, this is a broad who's saying I'm not good enough for her, not because of my personality or some other like, you know, thing I can supposedly change or whatever, but because of my ethnicity, which I have no control over. So it's like I already don't care about appealing to her. So why you get the point of like this is not someone I'm worried about. Oh man, she saw me wear this and that. No, it doesn't matter. You already are saying that I would never be good enough for you anyway. And it was really funny because you know, we've been through so much like nonsense with chicks where you know, I've given the examples of like women that will say, "Oh, you're so funny. Oh, I enjoy speaking to you." You know, da 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 da. Right? But then when it comes to an actual thing that you want out of them, like a date or something, they just can't be, you know, can't be bothered. Um, she tried to say that I don't even like saying it because it's one of those things that just like if I don't show the screenshots, I'm almost worried you won't even believe me because how ridiculous it is. But she tried to say I was like nice or whatever uh for a person of my ethnicity or race or whatever. And I said, listen, let's not kid ourselves. The race thing is simply another reason in the long line of excuses that women make up to not be with a man. So I said this to her, I am firmly convinced that if I were white, I would still get turned down by this broad because of something else. Because no matter what you do, whether they like talking to you, whether they enjoy speaking to you, whether they're messaging you every damn second of every day, you don't get reciprocation. And that's why I said the race stuff is really cute, you know, or unique in this example, right? Very seldom do you have a woman who just comes out and is like, "Yeah, I won't date you because you're black," like just outright says it. But I know based off of what we've seen from the ones that are supposedly willing to date someone of a different race, that if it weren't that, it would just be something. So that's why I don't even care, because I'm like, either way, you just can't win. Yes, I agree, man. There'll always be something else 99% of the time, it seems. I'm telling you, I've seen all of them. Oh, I like you, but you live too far away. Oh, I like you, but um, you know, I'm not attracted to you. I mean, it's you this stuff is such a joke, but like it's just funny because she's really trying to like push this idea that, you know, if you weren't this race, then you know, I no. I'd sooner believe in the Easter bunny than in that being a thing. Dude, I swear some of these chicks talk to you like you're a little kid that they're trying to not hurt the feelings of, or like I'm not even joking. I've seen two of them in the last month, neither of which I was trying to get with, mind you, say stuff like, I think eventually you'll find. I was like, please stop with that crap. I said it respectfully too. I said, listen, it's fine if you want to believe certain stuff about yourself. You want to compliment somebody, I get it, but don't try to give me no false hope about women. I'm past the point of buying into that stuff because we've seen the same song and dance every year for several years, and it's not. We don't need to be blown up with any of that nonsense. Maybe if you were a different race, it's like, man, who are you kidding? I know Jem left again. He's gonna go watch Barbie for the 15th time in 2 days. Like, it wasn't enough to go to the preview showing. It wasn't enough to go to the actual day of premiere showing. He's got to go for the Saturday morning showing too. Well, I guess it wouldn't even be Saturday morning for him. It's probably like afternoon because the time zones. Maybe if it weren't for your race, I would. No, no, no. We've seen too many chicks and too many lies to believe that. If a woman doesn't want to date you, she will come up with any reason, excuse, rationale, or thing she can think of. It's as simple as that. Heck, if a woman doesn't want to talk to you, she'll come. Like, even one else that you don't like. Let's say, because I gave this example. There's a woman I spoke to as recently as this month, had 2 3-hour calls with, and she was saying all the right stuff. Oh, I enjoy talking to you. I have so much fun with you. Blah, 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 blah. And then suddenly, just stopped responding to me abruptly. You send her something, she looks at it or like sees it, doesn't say anything back. And I'm like, hey, did I do something wrong? What happened? Oh no, I'm just going through something. It's like, so because you're going through something, you're just gonna ignore me now. I didn't say this to her, but that's just what I thought. And I'm like, wow, so 6 hours invested in trying to like get to know somebody for that just to be ignored after they get into something that's unrelated to you a week later. How anticlimactic. That reminds me of that one broad that I stayed up playing games with that one night for like 5 hours on Discord just for her to block me later on that same day after. It was just, I'm telling you, man, chicks are the worst. Dude, this has happened so many times. It really has. Like, that's why I said when they start talking about eventually someone or one day, it's like, who are you kidding? We're like it really drives me nuts because they truly believe in this Disney fairy tale gender bent Cinderella story of like the man who waited year after year for the woman that would accept him for who he was. And then she finally appeared. No, it's not happening. Especially when you know damn well you'll find a whole you found a whole bunch of women you were fine with, and those bastards always have a problem with you. After a while, it doesn't irritate you anymore. It just leaves you disappointed because things don't have to be this way. No, they don't. Things could be so much better for both parties. Yeah, like if this broad that I spoke to for 6 hours for like several weeks back had just, said, hey, I'm going through some stuff. I just want to speak to you, which is what they claim to want, but then they don't actually do it. Uh, you know, we could add an enjoyable further communication, but they chose to go through something and then also like cut me out, even though I have apparently nothing to do with it, which is insane to me, but whatever. So yeah, it could be much better, but people just don't care. They're not invested in actually getting any better result. It's just um unfortunately people, being fine with the way things are for the most part anyway. But I just thought it was so funny where it's like, oh, hello, man, I'm not attracted to. I'm fine with seeing pictures of you. Just wear certain stuff that I want you to wear. I'm like, what? Talk about having your like having your cake and eating it too. It's like, if I'm not attractive to you, like you're outright telling me you are not attracted to me. Why the hell would I care about acquiesce? Yes, it is a contradiction. If I thought some woman was ugly or I didn't want, do you really think I'm assuming you're like, hey, woman that I am not attracted to, you can send me pictures, but only wearing certain outfits. Like, no, I don't want any pictures of you. And by the way, guess what she has in common with all the trolls? Guess what? She hides her face. The first time I ever spoke to her was probably a month or two ago. And I was with my best friend, the one I did that stream with years ago, and I said, I bet you that's not what she actually looks like. She had some picture of some attractive woman in front of some lighting or whatever. I was like, I bet that's not what she actually looks like. And sure enough, when I spoke to her over the last week or so, she confirmed that's not actually her. Because we both figured that there's no way a woman that attractive is going to be sitting online, pissing away, typing all this ridiculous racial crap. And we were right. That was not her actual photo. That's some picture of some admittedly attractive woman that she stole from some TV show or movie, but that's not actually her. But it's like, think about this. You're talking about what you would want to see me wearing or be okay with seeing me. It's like, but you can't even show your face. Like, what is that? I had a very traumatic time with the man that I showed my picture. I said, look, I don't care if you want to show your face, but don't sit here and start, wagging your finger at me about what I can wear. The hell? And usually aren't we usually told that all chicks are beautiful and good looking? You know, yeah. And I made this point to Jem that I'm actually now starting to go around my town and just kind of like look at women. And I'm noticing that when I see overweight people, and I'm not even talking about like somebody has like a little bit of a belly. I'm talking about like the ones where their arm is like kind of further, like it's kind of like husky, or I'm talking about, say, like skin hanging off of it. I'm noticing that the actual like mainly obese people that I'm seeing are almost always women. And Megumi, I want to make this challenge to you. I don't know what part of the UK you're in, but one of these days, just go around your local area, or while you're doing your stuff you usually do, just look at the women that you see and notice if they are, in comparison with the men, much heavier and much larger. Because I'm noticing a lot of that. I saw a couple where the woman was overweight, the guy was skinny. I'm like, remember, you need to go to the gym to be with one of them. So one of these days, just go around your local area and see how many women are actually um, like what they are in comparison with the men. Because I'm noticing more and more that when it comes to being overweight, it seems to just almost be entirely composed of women. Like true obesity, like the bigger people almost always seem to be female from what I'm seeing nowadays. Dude, I'm so close to like revealing that. Well, I'm not going to say anything because I'm still not. I'm not trying to give her any more attention, but I'm so close to like basically just being like, yeah, that is the same woman on a different account, because there's too much stuff is adding up. I already have noticed that difference, but I will look out for it more and observe, since this is something I've never understood. Well, what it is that we have a toxic thing towards men about, you need to go to the gym, you need to wear this, da 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 da. And as we've become more accepting of these alternative types of females, we also have we've really just lowered our standards on them completely. Where like now, like people feel empowered to go online, talk trash about the way men look, but when it comes to women, they're like this protected group. So because there's not really anyone in real life or online pushing them to take care of themselves in even the most basic of ways, they can do whatever they want pretty much. But that's a pattern I'm noticing, where all the overweight people seem to just mostly be female. Again, there are some guys I see that have maybe like a stomach on them a little bit, but I'm talking about like the ones where they've got the you know what I'm talking about. Just there's a way to describe it. It's like a certain amount of um extra flab that I'm only seeing on women at this point. And now Akatsuki Merchants abandoned me. He went to go and I think he has what is it, the 2 or 3 p.m. showing for Barbie. He's gonna go see it in IMAX. Even where I work, there is a chick that works in the bar and is pretty obese and has a huge backside. When I was first learning how to drive, I had this instructor for this driving school I was going to. And I'm not joking. Every time she got in the car with me, I would feel the vehicle like shake a little bit when she would sit down. And she would always be eating something. It could be chips or cookies or drinking some shake or whatever. And I was actually afraid when she would sit down because the car would like jiggle a little bit. And I was, at that time first becoming accustomed, to driving, and it would, really kind of add to the whole anxiety. Every time I saw her, she always was eating something, but like throughout the whole day, cookies and shakes and donuts, and I mean, and again, I like some of that. You'd probably be surprised by how rarely I even get to eat any of that stuff. Like, I think I've had donuts maybe twice this year. I used to have candy once a week. Now I might go a whole damn near month without having any of it. Just because a lot of the ones I really like, they don't even have anymore. Like I looked around my whole damn city for some candy corn one day. I was so sad when it didn't when I couldn't find it. But yeah, every time she would get in the car, you feel like the vibration. Like it really made me uncomfortable. This lady is big enough to where she could sit in both seats, where she'd have one like large uh half of her keister in the driver's seat and the other large half in the passenger seat. That's how you can tell there is a problem, because they are constantly accepted by everyone. They don't have any incentive to even take care of themselves physically. No, they don't. Remember, like, think about this. Men will tell you to go to the gym and get muscles on the chance that a woman will look at that or know about that and become suddenly attracted to you. But then women who don't have to worry about approaching, asking out, any of that crap, what is their incentive to go and exercise? Like if they know that they don't have to look good to appeal to men because men will take anything and everything, what's the point? But have you seen any obese chicks that have a pretty or attractive face? Oh yeah, I used to go to school with one. Because like I said, being overweight doesn't automatically make someone unattractive. Um, it's just that the two things usually are kind of like put together because people want to, they have their own little idea of what beauty is, so they try to make it sound like if you don't fit into that, then there's something wrong with you. I'd say I'm really disappointed in that one woman on what site was that? The one that was saying all the racial nonsense was on Twitter. The other one was on, I think, Instagram. And it's like, so when you get depressed, when you're not feeling good, you ignore the person that you claim to like talking to. You just don't say anything to them. You just cut them off. You just nothing. Okay. Like I said, I'll never understand the logic of the female mind. It is a very bizarre, crazy, weird, just strange thing. But with regard to the other one that I said, I think that was on Monday. I was convinced that she was the same person as this other one that basically like threw me to the side last year. I'm I'm pretty convinced it's her because the other one had a habit of deleting. Like what she would do is she would make an account, and for whatever reason, I don't know what the reason was, but she'd make an account and then she would just start a new one. So, like for example, um, she had like one account maybe 10 years ago, had like 700 subs. Then she stopped using that one, made a new one that has like 30 something, 300 something. Maybe I don't. It probably was like around 30, but some number that's smaller. Then she made another one, which was the one I met her on, that has like 400 something. So it's like a known thing that she makes a new account with a new name and kind of post similar type content, but still you don't know if for sure if it's the same person. So I think it's her. I think she's returned to annoy me again. I just can't understand the point of subscribing to somebody, but then never watching any of their stuff, and then like um unsubbing from them a couple of weeks later. I just think that's weird. So my favorite joke is like when I was looking at the subs in the channel and she was sub to a toy channel, and I was just like, so you'd rather sit here and watch somebody play with some toys than than watch me? Like I said, she must think we're all really stupid if we're supposed to believe that's somebody new. Because I was making the point when I was talking to I think it was to my brother yesterday. I said nobody else that's in that same little group of people would be this antagonistic to me. That's a content creator. That is the only person who makes videos that I have ever tried to be friends with in a like genuinely develop a friendship with and have had a falling out with. That is the only one in the whole history of me being on this site. I'm serious. There's a lot of people I used to watch. Maybe they make stuff I don't like anymore, or they're not, like whatever reason I just don't. But I'm like, we never knew each other or anything. That's the only person where there was a falling out with out of any of the fellow content creators. Just her. So she'll always live in infamy for that one. What does she want with you? I don't know, man. I don't. Like I said, after I got blocked, I was like, okay, well, whatever. Chicks are weird. It is what it is. But then I get a subscription from a new channel and it's got public subs, so I get notified of. It's not like I just went and looked for it. And I'm like, this person has the same type of stuff as what she had, and even has some of her videos in a playlist that, interestingly enough, excludes everything I've made on the same topic. But I guess this is just a whole new person. Like I said, I don't understand the point of subscribing to somebody just to like leave no comments on any of their stuff and then unsub from them a few weeks later. Oh, chicks are weird. Just a very strange group of people, man. Good luck trying to figure them out. I'm saying normally I try to not even think about, like, if I have a falling out with someone, I really do try to not think about them anymore, watch anything that they make or whatever, like look at their social media, because I do genuinely try to move on. But I don't know, ever since that account showed back up and I've been convinced that was her, it's been really hard to like just not notice certain things, like just check for certain stuff, you know? I didn't know what I'm talking about. Like basically this happened really early last year, and I just kind of accepted, okay, well, that was a strange thing with the woman, whatever. And then now that this other account has appeared and it seems to be her back to her old tricks, I'm like tempted to keep looking at it or whatever. Like, you know what I mean? Like I really tried to just stay away, not look at anything, but it's like I got clawed back in, you know? When I found out she was sub to the toy channel, I can't stop having like mental images of her sitting in her room with the case of toys, and like as she's watching stuff on YouTube, she's like hitting them against each other. Probably that was one of her intent. Yeah, because it's like, why else would you have your subs public unless you want people to know you're subscribed to them? Like Megumi, imagine I gave this example, but I'm gonna use another example. Imagine if you made God, I don't know. Let me think of some series. Um, let's say you made Dragon Ball videos, and you're friends with all, like, you know, like the Dragon Ball community, like the big guys that have like channels 100,000 of subs, right? And you and I have a falling out. We were gonna collab on something, but I just, I block you after you I guess appear impatient with me or whatever, you know. So after that happens, I stop uploading. You just kind of like move on. You're like, whatever. And then a year later, this new channel shows up and it subscribes to you, public sub, so you're notified of it. You look on the channel, it's got a playlist of favorite Dragon Ball videos. And it's got my stuff in there too, but none of your stuff, even though that's like the main content that you make on your channel. Wouldn't you think it's kind of weird that like this channel subscribed to you but won't put any of the stuff you've made in its playlist of Dragon Ball stuff? And you think to yourself, well, the only person that makes, because this channel is making content, don't, but it's hiding its voice or whatever, so you're not really sure of who it is. But it's like the only Dragon Ball channel that you had a falling out with was me. So, and you know that I'm someone who likes to make all these different accounts, whatever. So who else could it be that would be this antagonistic to you as to make a playlist of Dragon Ball videos, but not put any of your Dragon Ball videos in that playlist, even though they know that your stuff exists because they're sub to you? That would be hilarious. She has it to where on Insta Garbage you can't send her a message unless you're being followed by her. I would love so much to just make a account when, yeah, when you look at it that way. I'll make an account, be like, baby, come back. Any kind of fool could see there was something in everything about you. You can work this stuff out. I'm telling you, you don't even have to be like some genius investigator. Just using the context clues. I just like all the like erotic subtext of this interaction with her, where it's like, oh man, this is a woman scorned. I'm like, if I made you uncomfortable, I'm sorry. I bet she's really mad about that video. That thing was almost at like 900 views at one point. Like I said, she blew up in my face. Now that video is blowing up in hers. You want to sit here and waste my time and have me waiting for you for a whole damn month just to do that to me? No, that's what you get. I'm working 50 hours a week. Yeah, whatever. I would have so much more respect for her if she just came out and was like, "Look, I like speaking to you, but there's not enough time in the day for me to do anything." Like she just goes from work to her house and just goes to sleep, and that's her whole day. It's really interesting thinking about women online in comparison with men. Like a lot of women are online just as much as men, but they're like more sneaky about it. Like they'll have accounts where maybe it looks like it's dead, but then you see on one of the tabs it was updated a few days ago. Um, and I don't know, I feel so weird like looking at her stuff. I keep saying to myself, this is someone I only knew for a month before they acted crazy on me. But I don't know. It's like ever since that thing happened with that new account that is supposedly a different person, I can't help but go over there and look and be like, this lines up with this. Yep. Like I don't know. I feel like a detective. Also, another thing they have in common is they both promise to make stuff that they never make. Which I mean, I do that sometimes too, but that's something else we could put in there. I do like the message from the other one where she said, "Hey, this is like after days of just ignoring me, right? Hey, sorry I haven't been talking to you much." It's like, no, you're not talking to me much. You haven't been speaking to me at all. You send that person a message. It could be once a day, and they will look at it. They just won't say anything. I haven't been talking to you much. No, not at all. I think you're understating your ability to ignore me. And dude, what drives me crazy is I didn't even do anything to her. Like, how do you go from having 3 hour long calls with somebody to just ignoring them for days on end? You don't think that's weird? That's what I said, man. I'm just tired of all just after this one. What happened? What changed? Um, well, according to the message, let me see. Life has been going very well for me at all. So, because life has been going very well for them at all, I have to take the fall. They just decided to turn against you. I mean, that was their message. Hey, sorry I've been speaking to you that much. Life has been going very well for me at all. So because of that, I have to take the fall. Don't expect them to ever reply, say anything whatsoever. Just pretty much. There was no big argument. There was no none of nothing. They just ignored me, or just ignoring me, as I should say in current tense, present tense rather, current tense. I'm telling you, chicks are weird. You could try to just be friends with them. You could try to just be cordial to them, and they will turn on you so quick. Oh man, just a really strange group, man. I tell you. And like I said, I see why people are sick of them. Like I'm at a point where I don't even want like because this one said that she considered me a friend, which I said before that I'm really tired of people saying that and then they treat you like this. But it's just funny that like, hey friend, Something else happened to me, so I'm going to take it out on you by just ignoring you completely for the next couple of days or slash weeks or possibly months. Okay, thanks. Bye. The problem is so many of them are like this, and you come across them like 95% of the time or something. I'm telling you, man, you don't even have to do anything to these bastards. Like you could literally just speak to one of them for like maybe a few days or a month, and then they could stub their toe against the table and they'd be like, "Look, man, I'm in a lot of pain, so I'm not going to talk to them." And they won't even say they're in a lot of pain; they just won't respond. They'll be like mad about their toe and just not say anything to you because of that. I'm telling you, and the thing is, the longer it takes for her to respond back and like get over whatever thing is making her do this, I'm going to say, hey, do you even still want to speak? Because like this is stupid. If every time you get mad or are having a bad time in real life, you're just going to completely ignore me. Like I've said before, I was so happy first, like after a while when I got blocked by the other one, because when she did that, she confirmed, like, don't wait for me. I'm nothing. I'm useless. I'm worthless. I am there's nothing good that is gonna come out of us talking to each other. Are you waiting for me or whatever? I said, okay, thank you very much. Now I can go make my video. Okay. But the ones in the minority who don't treat you this way and actually genuinely enjoy speaking to you and wants things to work are extremely hard to find and rare. Oh yeah, it's like looking for a needle in a haystack. Yes, I've been through this nonsense too many times. Telling you, she's got. I'm gonna give her 2 more weeks to do this, and then I'm done. Like I'm not even gonna bother because I'm already not gonna say anything else. But if this carries on into August, like into the middle part of that month, I'm finished. We're through because this is stupid. People get mad over stuff that happens to them, so they try to take it out on you. I tell you, every time I start talking to some new chick and it's like decent or going okay or whatever, because the calls were actually okay. I just keep imagining there's like a little window being like opened, and I'm like hesitant to open it, like I'm reaching for it, and I'm kind of like pulling the thing down a little bit, like lowering my guard, right? And I'm that's how it is with them at first, and at a certain point, you right out that window comes a knife to your stomach every time, man. Sometimes it takes a little bit longer, sometimes it happens a little bit quicker, but every time you start to lower your guard and get comfortable with somebody and maybe think this won't be the same old nonsense, just from now on, if some woman comes and starts trying to talk to me, I'm just picturing that window, opening it right in the stomach every time. You can't ever get comfortable with any of these people, any of these jobs. It's all lies. I'm telling you, just so much BS. God. Oh, it actually is getting warm. That's interesting. It was so cool to where I could have the window up, and now it's like getting so warm I have to have it down. So I said the weather over here just changes so frequently and rapidly. It's really nuts. That's very unfortunate, and I can relate to this. Like the job I am doing, I am definitely not comfortable at all. Yeah, because for all you know, these employers could be like, "Well, thanks for showing up every day, like we wanted you to, Megumi, but this isn't working out." And they don't care if you can't take care of yourself or can't afford to eat or any of that. That's why I said these places are run by douchebags and psychopaths. I just I'm not even trying to harp on this. I'm just imagining like I'm recounting this story. I'm like, oh yeah, there was this woman I met and we spoke maybe like 2 or 3 times, and then she blocked me after I was like, hey, so can you just tell me if you don't want to talk anymore because it's been a month and you haven't said anything to me, or a month and a half, whatever. And then all of a sudden, this new channel appears and it's like very similar to her, and I'm sniffing it out and I'm like, something doesn't seem right here. It's also interesting that this account is like the only one of those people that doesn't have social media on any other site. Like of the ones that have made videos, it's the only one that has like no Instagram, no Twitter, nothing. Just it only exists on this one site. But that's definitely not her. They also have the same writing style where everything is lowercase. That would be the funniest thing if that was if that like that actually did turn into a romance. Like, how did you meet your second girlfriend? Oh, she was online and making videos and got mad at me and blocked me, and then came back on an alt and sub to me, and then sub after a couple of weeks. And I figured out it was her because the accounts are just too similar to each other. I'm telling you, online is so weird, and it's like I'm seeing more and more strange chicks. Oh, by the way, I told you that I wanted to do some kind of like podcast thing or stream with some woman, some woman that was like supposed to talk about the romance stuff in a kind of like more nuanced way. I messaged that lady 2 times, and she would not look at either message. So unfortunately, I'm going to have to say that probably isn't going to go through. It's very sad because I thought I could have a dialogue with this person. They're on Twitter posting every damn day, but it doesn't look like I'll be able to get them to speak. So I really was looking forward to speaking to them, but they won't respond. Because I don't think they really want to have conversations that are challenging. They just kind of want to post stuff online all day long. You sure have been really observant toward that user. Well, I wasn't even trying to, but they publicly sub to me, which gets me a notification to my email. I check my email every day, and then they do something that's weird, which is ignore my stuff that's of the same category that they like, and they make a video too, and I'm like, okay, the only person that could have a motive for doing that is someone that I've seen before, had a falling out with, and who I know makes multiple accounts with completely different names. So I think that's her. I hope it isn't, but well, it would be funny if it were her though, or if it were somebody completely different. It'd be like the most biggest plot twist ever. Time wasters. Now, Jim, you can't talk. When you were sitting up there watching Barbie for 8 hours yesterday, that was nothing but a waste of time. I mean, I don't know what you were thinking, sitting through and marathoning that film at every showing. And look, if you want to see the movie 10 times in 2 days, that's fine. But you can't tell me I have to replay my stream or schedule it to be the Barbie after party, or that you'd actually like to see my stream become more Mattel esque. So maybe if I had one of the Barbie dolls in my hand and probably painted the inside of the car pink, that would be more interesting as far as promoting the film. I've never even touched them. Well, apparently neither have the people review bombing that movie, but they're still going to see it in droves. I'm upset about the map in the movie. Oh, people online are upset about everything about that damn film. They're making me want to go out and see it, like pre-order it on DVD and go and see it in theaters too. If it's causing this many supposedly straight men to get this upset, I'm very interested. Don't waste your time. Look, Jem, you can't talk about wasting time. I know you have seen the Barbie film starring Margot Robbie 10 times since the Thursday preview showings. What is your take on working on the weekends? Would you be content with that, or you prefer working on the weekdays? Um, I prefer the weekdays because on the weekends, a lot of times I try to run errands and I'm just Sunday. I really do like just kind of sit around and relax. So I prefer if it was just the weekdays. Jim, don't start sounding like these people. They'll talk about how woke a movie is, but then they're sitting over there. They'll watch it. A movie will be out 24 hours later. Here comes their review. Look at Shapiro. I hate Barbie so much. That's why I went to go see it on opening day. And I'm sorry. I think it's weird that a bunch of grown men are getting upset about feminism in a movie about a doll for girls. Like, I think that's weird. But it makes sense when you remember the grifters and all the money they're bathing in from talking about this movie. It makes a lot of sense when you put it in that context. He's just a fast talking cuckoo. Hey, Jem, what's that one transformer that speaks fast? That's blue. That showed up in the movie Blur. I'm talking about the '86 movie for the first time. That's what Shapiro reminds me of. He's like, we need to defeat wokeism, and wokeism needs to go, and we need to talk about wokeism, and we need to stop wokeism, and please subscribe to me and make sure you get my Patreon. That's what he does. God, that's the same as me, but our stupid, incompetent manager schedules us to work both weekends and weekdays with one or no days off. I don't understand. It's like they don't want us to have time to do anything else. A lot of these companies think that you're married to them. If you start working for them, you might as well have a damn ring on your finger. Like, oh, you want to work for us? Well, you're going to be with us for a while. This guy was over here walking with this dog. Oh yeah, it's bend over. So when I was at that retailer, you had to be everything. You had to be the cashier. You had to be the cleanup guy. You had to be the guy that got stuff out the damn what do you call it? When people have like those adult beverages, which by the way, I hate. That was the part of the job I hated the most because you would think, okay, here's the key to go and open this, right? They hand you a list. It's like, I'm not joking. It's like 20, 30 keys on one ring. And it's like, oh, this is the darker one that has the number 6, 8, whatever. I'm like, dude, I can't remember what. Oh, 3590. Yeah, that's the. They all look the same. One slightly darker than the other one, but it's like you've got a whole ring of these. Oh, it's very messed up, and they'll get mad at you if you don't do it fast enough. Because it's not even just like, okay, you put the key and it opens. They have a whole like mechanism where you have to like put the key in and pull out this lock that's inside. It was awful. I hated that so much. Every time somebody was like, hey, I want to get this thing, But it's I was like, oh my God. It was terrible. That was the worst part of that job by far. I could handle the rude customers, but that key stuff, like the women's toilets have plenty. Oh, I've noticed a lot of disparity in the workplace as well that I cannot unsee. Like the women's toilets have plenty of stools and showers, but the gents have only a single stool and shower. Well, didn't you know that women are the superior gender and you're supposed to kowtow and worship them? All hail triangle. Entry level jobs asking for 3 years experience. I don't know what these people want. I'm just, whatever. I noticed that urinals are disappearing. Yeah, these bathrooms are gender neutral. I mean, I never felt comfortable using urinals anyway because there's not like a protective thing that covers you more often than not. So somebody, I think I mentioned before that there was this one time when I was in high school that there was a woman or not woman, well I guess she was 18 or whatever. I was 16. Like there was this girl I liked or whatever, and her boyfriend like saw me go in the bathroom and I was using the urinal. And he like walked up behind me and it was like the most homoerotic weird attempt at confronting another man about liking your girlfriend or what it was weird. But see, stuff like that doesn't happen when you just go and sit on the toilet. It's like was he trying to analyze if my banana was big enough for a taco? Like it was weird. I'm serious. I've never seen that before where somebody wants to confront a guy about liking their girlfriend or girl or whatever term they want to use, and then they go up and walk up on the guy while he's peeing. I would have turned and pushed on him. Well, the problem is they don't touch you, so if you touch them, they could be like, "I just came and I was washing my hands. He hit me." So apparently this position you need to be able to be flexible as in doing labor work, but the chicks never get told to do any of that when we have the same. Oh, you know what? And oh, I don't think you've told us that before. Well, I have talked about that woman before, that like that woman that I was so obsessed with getting with. I was thinking of going to the same college as her, and then like every time I messaged her, she wouldn't say anything, and like one day I just accepted that I meant nothing to her and moved on. Um, and like that really shattered the idea of the one like of this person that you're gonna meet and just like above all the other, because she didn't care about me. I was a piece of garbage to her. I was nothing. Um, but anyways, going back to what I was saying, because what Megumi said, I want to add to the last job I had, the one back in December. They had you remember the speed up session stream where there was like the chick that was talking about you should be done. Um, we had the same position. And in the last week or so that I was there, they got some other people to come and work as well. And the guy that was working there with me pointed out that they had me and him lifting a bunch of heavy chairs, but then the female coworkers basically just stood around and, wiped stuff off or whatever. And he got so fed up with it that he told his agent, or I guess the person he was with, his recruiter, "I'm done with this." Because he didn't like the disparity. He's like, why do the two guys have to do all this heavy duty, grunt manual labor work, but then the chicks that are in the same position, they get to just sit around and sweep this up and slide on that. Because in all seriousness, if they can't lift that stuff, you either have two things. You either don't hire them because they're not physically capable of doing the job, even though I do think that stuff is just too heavy for anybody to be lifting, but whatever. Or two, you don't have anyone do it. You just say, hey, you know what? We need 2, 3 people to lift this together. It's too much for any damn body. I remember when they had this one. It was like a chair thing, like God, how do you describe it? It was like made of metal and of some other material where it was like some chair that was really heavy. And the assistant manager called me out to like help them with lifting it. And when I lifted it, it was really heavy. Like I felt like this enormous strain, but I was able to lift it up and stick it on top of this thing like the lady wanted. And she said that her and the other lady had been trying to lift it together and like called me Hercules. And I was just saying, like, stuff like that's a good example of wanting to believe that there's a quality, but then not wanting to accept the fact that a lot of men are just stronger than chicks. So a lot of these jobs that require some kind of manual labor of lifting things, the chicks just can't measure up to the guys, but they don't want to accept that, so they keep hiring all these chicks, and they might have like one or two guys, and they burden them with all the physical stuff and act like we're superheroes with all these different powers and abilities. I am like the only guy there, and there are like over 7 chicks. Exactly what's up with that? That's what has been happening here. By the way, I don't mean to like circle back to this, but my favorite joke from this week was when I told the racial chick, I'm gonna call her that because I don't know what else to call her. I made a joke to her. I was like, "Oh, I thought you were very wealthy," and she was like, I think I actually saved the message. Let me see here because I don't want to misquote her. I don't want to make you think she's worse than she actually is. Um, 1 second to pull this up. She said, "What rumor is this? Do you think I'd be torturing myself by living around Mexicans if I was rich? LOL, I'm too poor to move." And in response to the part where she said, "Do you think I'd be torturing myself by living around yeah." I said, "I thought brown was your favorite color." Dude, like you don't know how much I've wanted to live by myself. I wouldn't care if the people I lived around um were white, I guess Caucasian, Mexican, Filipino, Cuban. As long as I'm by myself and I don't have anyone telling me what to do, I don't care what their race is. So you understand where like that's really funny to me that's like a punishment to her. Like that's awful to her. Just living around Hispanics is like the worst thing in the world for her. That's a proper punishment. You want to sit here and talk all this racial stuff on Twitter? Well, you get to be around some of the same race that you apparently don't like so much. And of course, she knows not to say this in real life because she probably would get the results wouldn't be too well for her. She really just make herself sound stupid. Oh yeah, but you get where that's funny to me that like the person that has this big problem with all these minorities is so poor that they have to live around minorities that they don't like. You get where that's like there's like a poetic irony to that. Dude, even when she was complimenting me, it was still an insult. You're pretty cute for a black guy. It's like, wow, thanks, I guess. I'm telling you, man, every time someone wants to sit here and talk about the sanctity of women, and what's so funny? Like, I remember when people were really, and they still do this, but not as much. They were really trying to associate the I word with like all these guys that have problems with minorities. Like, look at this woman. Like, she's the literally the exact equivalent of that. But you said she hides her face. She doesn't have pictures of her. Not any I've seen. I got her tragic backstory. I sent a picture of myself to a man, and he stops. He said I was ugly, and it was so traumatic for her and whatever. Like I said, I probably would be a lot more sympathetic if she hadn't have like she mentioned being essayed, you know. At one point I was like, well, that's bad, you know, I'm not gonna defend that, but I never would defend that. But as far as like oh, someone reacted this way online and it traumatized me, I'm not sympathetic because of the way that she acts. So you can get mad at me, but that's just my opinion. I don't really care. When you want to sit here and tell me what I can and can't wear if I send a picture to you, we're and it's so where it's like you don't even like me, so why do you care what outfit I wear or try to give me a regulation on the specific type of stuff I can put on? Are you serious? What sense does that make? I'm supposed to appeal physically to a woman who says she's not attracted to me. The hell kind of sense does that make? That's why I said chicks are weird. I've never come across someone of those kind of ultimatums. They love the power. Oh yeah. What did we say about my relatives? It's not about right, not about wrong. It's about power. Because I made this point. I said her getting a picture of me in a skirt or dress or whatever. What does that do to hurt her? How does that ruin her life? How does that make her worse off by seeing that? It doesn't. So she has to bring up unrelated crap about transgender people and um, some tragic backstory that's supposed to make her more sympathetic to or me more understanding of her screwed up perspective, because it's really just about trying to control me. It's like, oh, I'm female and I can send you stuff and you can't tell me what I can wear, but I can tell you what to wear. You can send a picture to me of yourself, but you can only wear this. She was like, as long as you dress like a man, I don't mind seeing you. I'm like, well, I mind, especially when it's a broad that can't even show her face. But look, Jem, I know we've strayed far from the path. I know you've been disappointed by my progress this year. It's been a really tumultuous period. I still am wanting to pursue the house race. We do still have time to do that. It's just there's a lot of crazy shenanigans going on. Um, and these people don't exactly make it easy to get involved in that stuff, as you already know. So I'm still going to try to pursue it in some way or another. I'm still going to try to make at least one documentary this year, at least one. Oh, oh. And we already have a pretty good idea of who it's going to be about. I understand you have to. Let me see. You have a ton going on as well. The China doc is really needed. Well, like I said, I'm trying to do it. It's just there's a lot of stuff in the way and a lot of things going on that it's just not easy, you know. Like anytime you do a video and you've got to write a script and you've got to edit it and you've got to make sure you have enough space to even make it in the first place, and you know, it's not that simple. Like I'd love to snap my fingers and have this stuff done, I never knew the job situation would be this bad. The first time I ever had an idea of how bad it was when I stopped going to college, and I was like, all right, I'll just get a job, whatever. And every time I would apply somewhere, it was the same old song and dance. You have to Uber your way over to this place and have them sit there and smile in your face and talk about how they need you and they need people and da 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 da. But then they never respond back after you make contact with them. So I knew for like several years that this stuff was way harder than it should be. Um, but it truly started becoming almost like a joke version of itself probably last year, year before. Because when I started getting hired by these places and then being like thrown out after a couple of weeks, that was when I knew something was, was funky. And I'm not talking about the music kind where people are discoing or whatever. I'm talking about just I knew something was off in terms of what they say to you and then what they do. I know that when Jem was asleep on December 31st of last year, and he got that visit from his Lord and Savior Jesus Christ, who told him that during the year he would see both the release of his favorite film ever, Barbie, and at least two documentaries from one of his favorite channels. He said, "Wow, what a deal!" Thankfully, I cycle, so I didn't have to pay for public transport to get to places. Well, I used to have to use Uber every time to get to one of those interviews. Definitely looking for the documentaries. It's just all the research involved, man. Like if I ever really seriously do one on Johnson, it'll there's because I've got the Robert Caro series. Um, is it Robert Caro? I'm forgetting his name. And the Robert Dallek 2 volumes. I can't wait for the Barbie movie to be on sale. Greatest movie ever. You think I'm playing? I really will go and see it in theaters if it means pissing off all these outrage channels. Jim, you're only passing on Barbie for tomorrow because you've already spent the last 2 or 3 days with the damn movie. So of course you're Barbied out. Yeah, I'm not surprised you're going to pass on Barbie after all the days you spent with it. Jim has seen Barbie over 10 times already. No way, no way. Remember all the way with LBJ, all the way with Barbie. Jim's favorite hobby is seeing Barbie with Margot Robbie. Oh damn! I'm just imagining like he has like this whole like he has a whole jar filled with all his Barbie tickets. He's working this week. He's like, well, they gave me a few hours off. I think I'll go watch Barbie again. I'm telling you, this has just been such a strange year. Like all the employer stuff has been bad. We've had a surplus. I mean, it is better than Morbius, so of course. Yeah, I think it probably is better than Morbius. Oh, you're gonna get some more BS from Sony when Craven comes out. So have fun with that one. I don't know who thinks these villain origin movies are smart. But I told you their cinematic universe is gonna crash and burn just like all the other ones that weren't Marvel. Every time it's the same thing. They get more excited about what they could make versus what they're actually making. It's like, doesn't the Sinister Six movie sound so cool? It's like, not if you can't use half the damn roster and the villains aren't even villains and they're in these really awful, lousy origin movies that don't make any sense and have nothing for the audience to latch onto, which is why they keep bombing. God, it is so insane out here. This is the type of day where I probably, ooh, the front of that car is smashed though. I probably would get some coffee, but I don't know. I'm kind of maxed out on that drink. I might just go to the market and get one of the ones they have in the. They have some sodas that they put in the refrigerator. I did have an idea about the cinema that I would love to see and would invest money into. Oh, let's hear it. 'Cause I'm really excited for this pitch. I'm not excited for this damn weather though. It's getting real cruel out here. Hey Jim, you probably weren't around for this one, but I had some of the Ramaswamy fans like on my stuff, writing all kinds of crazy crap. And like when I did my last video about him, they were like, "You're coping." I'm like, coping with what? I got over 1,000 views on one video in 3 days, and like 7 or 8 new subs. That's not. Why would I need to cope after that? Well, you know what it is. He gets so little coverage that anyone that makes a video with his name in the title, they go and they look for. Because I did a video about him wanting to raise the voting age to 25. I didn't put his name in the title because I figured nobody cares about this guy, so I could just say GOP candidate. None of them showed up for that one. But if you put Vivek, here comes his crew. One of them tried to say that I was making racial comments by calling them Rama zombies. I was like, as far as I can tell, there's not really an ethnic group that is associated with a fictional, typically evil uh, monster. So I'm saying they were writing all kind of weird stuff. One of them said, "Pack up and leave the USA if you don't love the country," or some just all types of little strange crap. Because if you criticize a presidential candidate, you don't love the country, even though that's what everybody does for like 2 years straight. Seriously, I'd be very invested into this idea because there are so many movies that were shown in cinema before my time, but I'd love to experience at the pictures. Wouldn't it be good to perhaps have a cinema that would host movies that were shown in the past or years ago previously? They do have some theaters like that. I know there's one around my area. They were playing some movie that came out in, I think it was 88 or 87 at one point, and some other stuff as well. So yeah, there are theaters that play older stuff. It's just a lot of the bigger ones, the more mainstream ones, just play newer things. That was funny when Avengers Endgame overtook Avatar for the highest grossing movie of all time. And then Cameron was like, "Okay, I'll just re-release it." And then Avatar retook the crown. Yeah, they have some smaller theaters that play stuff that, older things. I have to go look for them though. But I've seen them. I've like gone past. I'm like, oh wow, they're playing this movie from. I saw one theater. They're playing the first Indiana Jones, and you know that's old. So yeah, they're around. They're not as plentiful as they probably should be, but they exist. I told you about my friend. He's the one that's talking about he hasn't seen. Well, I'm not even gonna get into him. I'll put it this way: there are a lot of people that unless somebody tells them to watch something or like makes them watch it, as far as like plays it in front of them, they will never see a movie in their entire life. That movie could be online in HD free from the beginning of when it came on digital to 2001 million, and they still won't watch it. I'll have to search for them around my area. Yeah, I came across at least two or three of those. That'd be funny. I'm like, oh, you saw this movie I really like for the first time? Person that wasn't born yet. You were late. Remember that clown? I still can't get over like someone actually trying to make somebody feel bad that they didn't see the Matrix when it came out because they were a baby. And it's funny because it's like of all the stuff to try and hit somebody over the head with, you pick a movie about a guy that but it was just so funny for like a bunch of different reasons. Like my favorite part was uh Dragon Ball and Naruto and this other some other series. They don't have to do with real life. The Matrix discusses these topics. I'm like, dude, don't start talking about realistic works of fiction because when you do that, you're already creamed. There are so many goddamn books that are considered genre defining that have to do with real life, like the autobiography of Malcolm X, for example, that guy hasn't even whiffed a page of, but he's gonna try to tell you about what you missed out on and what's this very important thing that you haven't seen and you should like, man, touch some grass, seriously. Like go outside and feel on something. Like just be normal for a second. Act like a regular human being, you know? Because I do maintain that normal fans don't act like that. Hey Magumi, you saw my stream that came out yesterday, but you only saw it today. Yikes, that's pretty late. It's just like the self righteousness, you know, like I saw the Matrix when it came out. It's like, okay, did you? Is there like a difference between watching it when it came out versus now? Did the story change? Dude, imagine if I went up to if like I went up to Chris Claremont. That's the X-Men writer that worked on the book for like 15 years. He wrote over 100 some issues, and I was like, hey, I read your X-Men run. I really loved it. And he's like, oh, when'd you read it? When it came out, I was like, oh no, I wasn't born yet. I just read it last year. Yikes, that's pretty late. People are so weird. I remember I had this joke that the spin artist and the one that did the whole 500 a month thing, that they were going to have another argument with each other, like they were going to either see each other in person or over the phone, have some kind of altercation. I was going to call it the horrible relative power hour. like the worst relatives come together to like show you how bad they like who's worse, you know, like have a match of who's crappier than the other one. It's like it's hard to figure out because they're so evenly matched. Jam, you didn't show up to my stream until 20 minutes in. Yikes, that's pretty late. Jam, you didn't know who Abraham Lincoln was until you were born and not during the 1860s. Yikes, that's pretty late. You didn't see Birth of a Nation when it came out in, what was that, 1913? Yikes, that's pretty late. I could do this all day. I swear that guy was. That's one of the worst and like stupidest comments I've ever had on any stream. Like, period. He's even worse than the guy that came on the Empathy Eclipse stream and was talking about how like if things are so expensive, like he's even worse than that one. Because at least that one admitted that he just lives with his mom and daddy, so he doesn't have to worry about not having a roof over his head, so he can tell you to go be a dentist. Megumi, it took you 30 seconds to reply to my last comment. Yikes, that's pretty late. You know, be the funniest thing if like that chick that's ignoring me, if after like let's say she doesn't try to talk to me again for 2 or 3 weeks, and I'm like, I'm glad we're finally speaking again. She's like, yeah, I'm glad too. It's like, but you did take several weeks to finally hit me back up. Yikes, that's pretty late. And I say it the same way. Oh my god, these chicks are these like people online are just. I'm without words. It's weird. It's like they've never touched grass in years. I'm telling you, some of these people, chicks included, at most they go outside to go to work, but the rest of the time they're sitting on the computer all day long. And with me, even if I'm on the computer all day long, I'm typing, I'm writing something, I'm drawing something, I'm watching something. Some of these people, from the time they get up in the morning when they go to sleep, it is just no, there's no balance. This is an avatar gem. The four elements of the internet are insanity, stupidity, um, lies, and fan fiction. So they're insane. They say some really stupid things. They like to lie on people and they make things up about them. Those are the four elements of the internet. I'm just imagining like there's the internet avatar and they're just like bending all. They are full-time scrollers. Remember, we talked about the mundane existence. Some people really do just exist to go online, get mad about whatever, and like watch and make a bunch of other people more rich and famous, right? And that's it. Like they have no real passion or desire to be anything but that. I mean, one of my favorite streams forever will be the mundane existence because there really are these people that they just exist. Like I'm not even joking. They just you could take some of them and put them in the background shot of a movie, and that's exactly what they would be in real life. They don't care about anything. They don't know anything other than what they had to know to just survive. Like they know when they get hungry, they need to eat. They know when they don't have money, they need to get a job. Other than that, there's nothing. There's nothing there at all. Yeah, sleepwalkers. But Jem, you understand we're like it's really pathetic that you ask some people, how did the US come into existence? They don't even know their own damn country. And I said, I don't care if somebody from the UK like Magumi doesn't know the American presidents because he's not even from here. But Americans who graduated from middle school and high school should know some of them, especially the more recent ones. Because you know, with a lot of the more recent ones, people that were alive back then are still alive today. I got a relative right now who could talk about LBJ in Vietnam and being drafted and whatever. Like so I'm just saying that it's really sad that a lot of this stuff is not even some long time ago. Oh no, and it's sad because if I remember correctly, the War of 1812 is when we actually truly became independent. What was it, under Madison with the burning of the White House? No, American history is very interesting. Well, you know, a lot of people barely know anything about Cuba other than they might bring up Castro to try to scare you about the evil word of socialism, and that's it. But that really just has to do with people barely knowing anything about other countries, and like they barely know anything about the one that they're in. Oh, I know that he is, but you understand that like he still is considered the symbol of that country for a lot of people. Um, but I'm just saying, like, if they don't even know their own damn country, you might as well not even expect them to know anything about another one. By the way, Jem, you heard about what I didn't make a video about it because it was just so hot and I was just doing one a day. You heard about what Green did, right? Where she took what's his name? Hunter's pictures and like his like naked photos and put him and showed him in Congress with a little black box to cover up all the indecent areas. I was like, I can't believe I'm really like I'm actually alive to see porn being displayed in the halls of Congress. So like you'll get mad at though people will get mad if you don't wear a suit and tie to Congress, but not when you show pornographic images. Oh my god. I still can't believe that actually happened. What many people would say in regards to not caring about history is that it's the past, it's got nothing to do with what is happening now, which is actually bogus because the past often informs the present. Like, for example, if I said, oh, I was homeless for 3 weeks, well, you could say the things that led up to that are the past because they are. But if we understand the past, we can know why things turned out the way they did, what led up to this. Yeah. I mean, you know, we really care about the past of that one lady that doesn't like men wearing women's clothes because of her problems with transgender people, even though a man wearing women's clothes is literally just a guy wearing an outfit intended for women, and he's not trying to pass as a woman. But I digress. We need to care about her tragic backstory. Dude, I'm telling you, some of these chicks have the biggest like there's it's almost as if they're two different people or they have split personalities. They're like the most cowardly bastards on earth because they'll hide their face, right? But then they're also like extremely ballsy because they'll try to like tell you what to do and what you can wear and who you can talk to. I'm just like, man, come on. But I have noticed a lot of chicks online hide their face. A lot of them do. The ones that post videos, some of them hide their voice. Like they're afraid to even let you hear what they sound like. Jem, you are being sexist. This is why you would never make it in a civilized society. I hope Jem's daughter and wife don't read that comment. Because if they do, he'll have one less child and possibly his third divorce. Well, Megumi, what's the stream's title again? I'll never forget when Jem's second wife said, "Hey, if you keep talking disparagingly about women, I'll divorce you." And he put up his hand and he said, "You must be under the impression that I care." And then he walked away laughing. And they say his laugh still echoes throughout the mansion they used to own. I wasn't kidding. There was a lot of weird stuff that happened this week, and I was like, "Well, it all can fit together, and we can mold it into this nice 2-hour tale." Look, Jem, I know the only time you compliment my streams is when you get paid by your friend George Soros. You have a bias in favor of many of the progressive and liberal commentators. So you come to our channels and inflate us with a sense of self righteousness, but in reality, you're actually vomiting on the other side of your screen. We just can't see you. Now, Jem, are you going to tell Megumi how you met your first wife, or should I? Because I really don't want to have to recount that story. Well, it was somewhere around the early 2000s. At the time, Jem was going through a phase. He had largely stopped caring about college. He was starting his first mafia organization, and he went up to this woman. He was in a GameStop back when GameStop used to be a thing. People couldn't just buy games online all the time, and he noticed that she was playing one of the preview games that they had, and he went up to her. He tapped her on the shoulder. She turned to him. He put his mouth relatively close to her ear, and he said, "Look at my pants, and you'll see why they call it the PlayStation." And when she heard that, she was enraptured. She was captivated. She was enthralled. She was his. They exchanged numbers. The wedding was set for 3 months from then, and the rest was history. I mean, you would think he cast some kind of hex or spell on her. I'm not even joking. I had one chick I used to talk to. I would call her master and madam and all type of stuff, like as a joke. Like, what can I do for you? Your humble servant. Because I told you, they really think of us as some lesser beings. Wow, if only I had been that forward and easy. If only it had been that forward and easy. I had to pursue her for like a month. Well, that was 30 days that you probably wish you could take back, huh? That'd be the funniest thing if you could like go to some kind of like time deity and be like, "Hey, look, I made a mistake with this person. Can you just erase the last 30 days? Let me start over." And they're like, "All right." Time machine needed badly. Well, time travel is one of the most interesting concepts in fiction because there's so many different ways to do it. But the time machine lends itself toward the idea that there are multiple timelines and you can only ever create new ones. So like if you go back and you try to say, hey, to yourself, don't bother with that woman, you will have probably succeeded making a timeline where you and that woman never became anything, but you're still the one from the timeline where you did end up becoming something with her. Lucky that it was just a month and not multiple months or even some years, and she decided to cut all ties with you. Yeah, because like that chick that I told you came back on that new account, or at least I think she did. Sometimes I really sat back and I thought, what would have happened? Oh, I know. I like Back to the Future. I still have only seen the first one. I'm going to try to see the second and third soon. Um, but sometimes I really think about the woman. I'm like, if she hadn't have blocked me, I might have still been sitting there or sitting here waiting for her to say something. And every time you get a notification from Instagram, oh, she's finally responded. Yay. Oh, it's just another stupid, generic, random message. Well, whatever. Like I said, when she blocked me, at first I was mad, but then I said, you know what? At least now I know that I don't have to ever worry about seeing her or hearing from her again. It's done. So the umbilical cord has been cut and the video's production begins. And then a year later, here comes this new account that is totally not her that just subscribes to me, and these people, they just won't go away. Well, she unsubbed. I still have proof that she subbed in case she wants to lie and say she didn't. I can't. That'd be funny. She's like, I accidentally subscribed. Forget the multiverse. I do know one person. They made a second account, and when they were asked if that was them, they said no, it's a variant. From No Way Home, Megumi. So like their second account is Yeah, I did. I went on that site. I didn't spend that much time on there, but I remember going on there. Yeah, that's him from another timeline. He found a way to start posting. Dude, imagine if YouTube become like the internet becomes so corrupted and YouTube becomes so lousy that now alternate versions of people from different universes are posting videos in the same universe. It's like, hey, was that you? Oh, no, that was a variant. Like this, the regular version of me talks about the news. The other version of me talks about golf. That's how corrupted YouTube became. That like now it's like seeping into the multiverse. And so instead of like having one version of everyone posting, there's like 3 versions of somebody and 8 versions of another person. So you need a second phone. You do YouTube and meet me at the same time. Oh well, if you're asking me to go buy a second phone, then we're going to be out of luck on that one. Theoretically, I'd be able to just open a tab on my computer and use the phone for the other one. Because I'm not using my phone for this. It's my computer. So Megumi, if you ever get in trouble for cursing out your boss for having all those girls up there while they have you doing the grunt work, come to work the next day, and when your boss is like, "Hey, I thought I fired you," you're like, "Oh no, that wasn't me. That was a variant." He thought it was me, that this was his job, but I sent him back to his dimension. If you ever meet some woman and she tells you that she loves you, and then you're like, "Oh man, I'm so sick of this," and then you don't talk to her for like 2, 3, 4, 5 months, or what you don't like, you just don't talk to her until she says something else, and you're like, she's like, why did you just start ignoring me? You're like, wait, that was you. But you said you liked me after being so weird. I thought you left and were replaced by a variant. Also, Jem, do me a favor. Email me a photo of yourself. We're going to be making some merchandise, um, and some different action figures of various prominent members of my channel and life. So we're gonna get your likeness, and we're gonna be selling figures based off your likeness for about $20, and we're gonna be charging based off the likability and importance of the person. So if we get a figure of my relatives, they should be free. I'm just imagining you go to the store to buy the gem figure, and it's like, hey, you want a spin artist? And then it's like, oh, how much? And they just throw it at you. We're gonna have Megumi come with a. I'm trying to get something that would even be relevant for him. Maybe a laptop and the head. I think you mentioned one point liking head scarves. Maybe one of those. No, hey Jem, this isn't Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. Like, come on. Were you trying to get sued? I mean, I don't know what you think you were even composing of when you brought an idea like that up. That was outlandish. You gotta be more original than that. And look, I know some IPs are really cool, um, but you can't just take things from other people. And we can't make an iPhone toy. We'll get sued for copyright by Mac, by Apple rather. One of my favorite jokes was was when I said my love life would be as successful as the Apple III. That's like the third Mac computer that was like a total complete financial failure for Apple, where they just all right, go back to the second one. Oh dear, that is something I've been told I couldn't wear 2 weeks into the job. Like what? Imagine if you tell off the boss while wearing the headscarf, and then you come back to work next day and you're like, no, that wasn't me that told you off. That was the variant. See, he was even wearing exclusive clothing like the headscarf. That's like the only way you can discern which was which, that the variant wore the headscarf. I'm really imagining like YouTube becomes so glitchy and crappy that it starts breaking the space-time continuum, and there's like people from alternate dimensions posting videos, and it's like three versions of the same guy. We have to come up with our own device name. I don't know, Jim. I've just been really disappointed by some of the things you've had to say about me and your lack of attendance to streams. I mean, even somebody like Butt Muncher 45 said you should be doing better. Even a guy like that came out and said, "Hey, I'm disappointed in him." And look, I get it. This week, Barbie was the top of your mind, but Barbie's not the only game in town. Well, yeah, but you set your alarm for that blonde lady, not for me, because the work I do messes up my hair a lot with tons of dust. Jem says, "To hell with that doll." Well, you'll be happy to know that over the course of the movie, she goes from being a doll to a real life girl. So you got your wish. The doll did go to hell, but it got replaced by the real life version. The doll was out and the person was in. The doll was out, the person was in, and Jem was in as well. He was sitting in the seat watching the movie. Jem, you can keep saying you're not interested, but let me tell you something. If Megumi goes over your house right now, if he gets on a boat or a plane or a bus or a train and travels to Jem's house right now, he's gonna find a little pink box filled with Barbie tickets from you seeing the movie not once, not 3 times, not 5 times, but 10 times in the last 2 days. We're honest here. We don't tell any lies. You don't have to feel embarrassed. You can see any movie you want to see, but let's not pretend you're not interested. You're anything but not interested. You are fascinated, enthralled, excited, captivated, maybe in a difficult dimension. Hey, imagine you wake up and like everything around you is just pink. Like all the buildings are pink, all the cars are pink. And you're like, okay, this is kind of giving me sensory overload, but it's not too bad. And then like you drive up somewhere and you see some blonde haired woman, you start screaming because you know who that's supposed to be. Yeah, that's what made your dedication to the movie so surprising. You had never touched a Barbie in your life, but you touched those tickets so many times that I was afraid you're going to get accused of assault. You grabbing all up on those tickets. They are as alien to me as Cabbage Patch dolls. I remember those. I remember there was this one chick I used to talk to on Discord. She changed her avatar to the Teletubbies. It was so random. Time for Teletubbies. You know, playing if I was more of a just like a antagonistic person, I'm a star geek and history geek. Well, you could tell me the whole history of Barbie. You could tell me who made the first doll and how many sales they had per year. I mean, I used to be in the comics, but Marvel and DC have just been on a downward spiral, if you ask me. That was funny when my friend, because I told he doesn't rewatch movies for whatever stupid reason. He's like, "Oh, what's that Batman movie, The Dark Knight Returns?" And I was like, "What? I know you haven't read that classic story." So I corrected him, and he was referring to either The Dark Knight or Rises. But when he said Returns, it's like, no, 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 my illiterate little pal. I know for a fact you didn't read that Frank Miller classic. Sorry, buddy. Oh no, I'm not saying it wasn't. I'm just saying that like the thing he accidentally said the title of is something entirely different that's also considered good. It'd be like they did a Batman movie called The Killing Game, and then he's like, "What's that Batman movie called? The Killing Joke?" It's like, no, I know you didn't read that one. Sorry. I'm not even joking. Sometimes I really think we're gonna have some big giant, like we're gonna have some big crossover event with all the romance people on YouTube. It's gonna be like the romance equivalent of Crisis on Infinite Earths. Or what's the other one? Flashpoint. No, they've really been like, hey, why don't you come on my channel? I'm like, for what? I had like 2 or 3 different of those guys do them. Like, I'm not trying to have no damn romance version of what's that Marvel event called? Secret Wars? No, you go and talk about this stuff by yourself. It's been doing wonders for me. They always want to team up with somebody. Like, come on. Your news analysis has been spot on. Oh, thanks. I haven't felt spot on because the weather's been getting so awful over here. Like this heat wave has been terrible. That's why that woman that stopped speaking to me abruptly when she got mad about real life events or whatever, it really pissed me off because it's like I'm sitting out here in my hot car just to talk to you, and then what? A week later, you're like, "Thanks, but no thanks." You serious? You know, if I go and sit out here in this blazing hot sun just to talk to people, that should already be a sign I'm actually interested in speaking to you. Oh, they I know they don't care because the first time I spoke to her was at my house, and somebody was playing some loud thing on the TV, and she was like, "I heard someone screaming." Like, okay, well, I'll go. Well, look, next time we speak, I'll make it to where there's nothing in the background. So I went outside. I sat in my car for like 2 hours talking to her, 3 hours rather, all the way until the sun came down. And it's like, oh, we can speak again tomorrow. Tomorrow comes. Oh, I'm going to my sibling's house, and then they're like, oh, we can speak the day after that. Day after that passes, nothing. I sent her a message, no response. Well, look, I'm just gonna say this: that place is not that big. So when somebody plays something on TV and it's in the same room and it's like relatively loud, I can understand. I'm just saying that like I really did try to make things better, and then the reward I got was being ignored for damn near a whole week because of something that wasn't even my fault. Well, you know, with chicks, it's always a waste of time. The only woman it has been a waste of time with yet so far is the one that is on that new account messing with me because, you know, I thought we were done, but she came back, my darling angel. I love chicks that work 50 hours a week, but have time to sell online and make a bunch of accounts and try to like sub to you, but then never watch any of your stuff. God, she's so appealing, man. I'm just captivated. That's the only one that hasn't let me down. After she blocked me, I thought I'd never see or hear from her again, but then she made a new account and sub to me and pretended to be somebody else. But I knew it was her. I could tell by the way she wrote and the stuff that she liked and the fact that she had some weird animosity for someone that had never met me before. But I knew it was her. I'm telling you, if that really is not her, if that truly is somebody else, I'm trying to think of something I'll do. Hell, if I wasn't being strapped for cash, I really would go to another state and dance in front of the state capitol. I'll think of something to do, but I'll be shocked if that isn't her. It really would be because, like, I'm telling you, I've sat back and I've just watched the account. It's man, I there's just too much stuff that is similar. So it would be the biggest plot twist. Kind of like that story I wrote where there's that guy that never gets with a woman, so he never gets to have a family. But then this deity tells him, "Hey, there's an alternate universe where you have a kid," and he's like, "Yeah, take me to him. I can't wait to see them." And then he finds out the child who had inherited his powers now uses them to uh, murder people. So even though he got what he wanted as far as having a kid, he still doesn't get what he actually wants, which is having one that is not evil. The one universe where he succeeded in his mission to have a kid is also the one where the kid is terrorizing everybody in his absence. Because just like all the other serial killers, the kid makes it seem like they're normal, they're not doing anything crazy. And then he finds out, then when the dad found out in that timeline that the kid was a murderer, they felt like they failed and killed themselves. And then in their absence, they just keep doing all this awful stuff. Also, you find out the reason why the child is like evil or murderous or whatever is because the same deity that pulled the alternate version of their dad into their dimension 2 years earlier showed them a timeline where they didn't exist, and it proved that every meaningful person in their life was better off in the event that they hadn't have been born. So after seeing that, they don't care about the consequences of what they do. They don't care who they hurt. They don't care about anything other than just murder and slicing and dicing, because after all, the world is better off without them. Oh, Jem said very interesting. Well, you know what it is? I just think it's always more interesting to have somebody succeed in getting what they want, but then it's not really what they want. So even somebody that wants to have a family, it's like they don't want to be with a gold digger. They want to have kids that hate them. Even somebody that wants to work a 40-hour week like myself, you don't want to have some job that you hate, that you can't, that from the moment you start working in the morning, you can't wait till you leave in the afternoon or evening. I enjoy deep think writing / movies. Well, I appreciate it because that's certainly something I want to make. I just find the idea of the parent who's a good guy that has powers they use to help people mentoring their kid to do the same thing, but then the kid becomes like evil because they find out the parent's life would factually be better off if they had never been born. And then after the parent kills themselves, becomes like an evil version of their parent, to where they have to pull in an alternate version of that parent to like save the day is interesting to me. Oh damn, this heat. I guess Megumi's not going to say anything about that. Like I said, I like that story. Um, I've only written a few pages of it. I've got like I always start with like a plot summary, but I might do it. Oh, thanks. Yeah, it's actually partially based off this episode of this one show that, in my opinion, is actually one of the worst episodes of any cartoon ever made. That has a character wish they were never born, and then all these people that were not affected by them existing are somehow better off. Like every single, and it doesn't even make any sense. Like an evil bully is like a nice guy because they don't exist, even though they were a bully before they met them. And the message is, oh, if you do, you're supposed to do good things because they're the right thing to do, not because you're good adulation. But it still is like really nasty and just a really mean spirited tale, in my opinion. Many parents have been killed by their kids as a result of resentment or money. Well, yeah, but the idea is that the dad kills himself because he feels as if he's failed. Like he wanted his kid to be a good person like he is and help and use the powers for good, right? So them using it to kill people and it going completely under his nose for a year is proof to him that yeah, there's no there's nothing left for me here. I failed. I did not succeed. I made things worse by having you. I remember when you were mentioning some chicks find it more appealing the less you talk to them or something like that. Yeah, some of them you can ignore for a whole week and they'll be like, "Hey, what happened?" Well, look, I'm literally sitting in the inferno. I mean, I'm not even joking. If you could see how the weather changed over here from when I started to now, um, it's really crazy just how much heat's accumulated. So I'm gonna get off of here. I'll be back on Monday. I'm gonna spring for the same time, but I'm not entirely sure because I might have to do this thing with this guy. Um, that only happens when you have money. They want to cheese you. So if you were married to them, they'd want you to be less involved with them. Very weird. Well, it's all part of that same thing of like two married people and two people that are together that live together are supposed to get used to seeing each other every day, at least for a period of the day. So to do this thing where you need space and you need to, it doesn't work. Because like the people that I care about, I want to spend more time with them. Even the ones that I live with, if you can be in the same room with them, but they're staring at their phone. So really, for me, it's just kind of a thing where um, I understand the desire for space, but if it's someone I really like, and there have been people that I have really liked, and I'm more so interested in actually like kind of pulling the person inward and like, hey, let's do this together. You want to do that together? So, like I said, I just think if you really like someone, you'll want to do stuff with them. That's just my opinion. I do feel so bad for the dad. It's like he's so excited at meeting his kid, and then he gives her a hug. She pretends she's like daddy, thinking that like making it seem like she thinks that's the same version, right? And he comes down to give her a hug, and you get like this warm embrace, and she pulls a little knife out and stabs him in the back. It's just the ultimate like irony of like a guy who wants to have a kid but can never get one because all the women always turn him down. He's not good enough for any of them, whatever. Um, the one universe where he has a kid, they are one of the worst serial killers in the entire damn country and arguably the whole world because they have the enhanced abilities that he had. I just think it's so screwed up in a multitude of ways, Like you got what you wanted, but at what cost? It's a thought-provoking premise. And like I'm not even trying to call myself some great amazing writer or anything, but I just like the idea of what if this person actually got what they wanted and then it still wasn't what they wanted. Because when I have the part where where the kid is being shown the alternate universe where they didn't exist and everyone was better off. I would make a point of like the fact that yeah, people, the dad might have more money, the whatever stuff like that, but he has a void in his life. He's like, hey, I want to have something more than just financial crap. So even if his life is objectively better as far as more money and being able to just really just that by itself, there still is an absence. There's still something missing. There's still a void. Well, the wishes didn't end up killing him because he didn't use any what's a good way of putting it? Any type of magical stuff to get the kid in that timeline. He met a woman, she liked him, they had a kid, whatever. Relationship fell apart. A lot of times they do. It's just really ironic that the version that is the main character wanted that same thing, but was denied it, right? So he has to use this other means to get it, but then it still isn't what he wants. So he basically says, all right, well, you know what? This is still my mess. I'm still a version of her dad, so it's my responsibility to clean this up. So I personally really like the idea. I like the design I drew for her where she has the daughter, whatever, has like the blood of her victims down in her eyes, like that. Because that is a thing that apparently hunters do where they mark themselves with the blood of their animals or whatever. And the idea of someone believing that nothing they do has a consequence because the world is has been proven to be better off without them, I think is a decent motive. Yes, with the marking. My favorite part is like the flashback where you see the dad end his life. Um, and you don't actually like see the thing, you know how they do it, like the discretion shot where you get like the blood on the wall or whatever. And then you go to the house that she's staying in, where like her main base of operations, and they're like investigating it, and then you can see, I don't have anybody pointed out, but you can tell it's the same, like you can see the same room where it happened. Like it's still covered in his blood. It's just a nice little visual bonus, you know. Like nobody has to say anything about it or make any kind of mention of it. It's just like, if you are watching it visually, you can pick up on that. Oh man. All right, seriously, I'm gonna get off here because I am burning up. I can't wait to get a cold drink and a damn bed to lay on. So thanks for showing up, Magumi, Gem. I know that Banana Merchant was here earlier. I appreciate that you attended the stream of the century. I hope I wasn't kidding when I gave it that title. I tried to be humorous. The examples of that during this stream were numerous. So thanks for showing up and have a good rest of your weekend.